Hey everyone, welcome to another batch of voiceover interviews. Here I have today's guest, Psalm Emorant, or otherwise known as Amber VA. Psalm, would you like to say a few words?
Hello, I'm happy to be here. I hope everybody's having an awesome Easter. When you're hearing this, we're recording this on Easter. I am originally a audio engineer, 7 years, and I went from that to streaming for 2 seconds, and then I tripped and broke my neck into voice acting. So nice to meet everybody.
Hell yeah, it's lovely to have you here, my dude. So first question, which I'm sure you were expecting, just to get out of the way, what got you into voice acting, and would you like to divulge into your voiceover journey in general?
Okay, so always been interested in voice acting, or not less interested and more so appreciative. I was super big, like a gamer, still am. And so while voice acting in video games has definitely evolved, it's still always been cool or had some kind of charm. And I didn't always intend on doing it, something I thought about here and there. And as I got older and I got a little bit of bass in my voice, I got a lot of recommendations like, hey, you have a radio voice, you have this, which is not always the best advice to just take if somebody says that. But I heard it a lot when I was streaming because I was a VTuber for a little bit. And then I was like, all right, why not? So I kind of took a stab, and that was just about a year and some change ago. As far as journey is concerned, it's like I said, it's only been a year and some change. I started that first 6 months or so with a lot of planning. You'll see here, you can't see what's on it necessarily, but I have a whiteboard. That's where I put all my, like, I have a self-care side, and then the other side is my goals. It's got stuff oriented by date. It's got stuff by season. I actually need to update it because it says winter goals right now. We're not in winter anymore. But I used that to really set the framework for how I wanted to move along, for when it was making demos, when it was reaching out to agencies, signing up for rosters, cold emailing, and lots of stuff. And I managed to get signed by two regionals and one major agency in my first year of voiceover.
That is that is just I'm speechless. That's super impressive, like straight up. I didn't know you had a board over that. That's so freaking cool, man. Like I
Yeah.
love how like meticulous and like driven you are to like have goals for like a season and stuff like that. Because not a lot of people like have that drive, and the fact that you have that is like it's just a testament to your character. And you've only done
Thank
voiceover
you.
for a year. No worries, man. You've only done voiceover for a year, and you're already with CSD. Gotta say, man, that's truly impressive. You need more praise, man. I can't state how amazing that is, already. And yeah, so you mentioned that you play a lot of games growing up and stuff. So what were
Hmm.
your favorite games?
Ooh, okay. So, of course, was always an avid lover of Pokemon. I actually have this picture on my Twitter. I won't, it might take me too long to find it right now, but there is a cropped picture of me as a baby, butt naked, holding a Pokeball in my hand, like smiling at the camera. And I cropped it and I was like, all right, I'm gonna post this because I don't think people remember, like, or know how much I loved Pokemon. So Pokemon's always great. There's a gem of a game that came out on the Xbox a long time ago that was called Jet Set Radio Future. It was about graffiti and like expression in Tokyo or Shibuya, one of those places. So super cool. And then my favorite game, like once I was kind of teenage to older, was Fallout. I love Fallout New Vegas specifically. Like awesome, awesome game.
Oh yeah, what's your I'm also a Pokemon fan as well. Played it for a long time. I remember people saying that I don't remember who it was, but I think the quote sticks true. So if the first Pokemon game that you played has been like, remastered or
Mhm.
has like a yeah, remastered, let's say, that means you're getting old. So that I don't know why, but
Well,
it's kind of true.
that's not even fair because the first one that I played, I'm pretty sure it was technically blue or yellow or whatever,
Oh,
but that was remade with fire red and leaf
yeah.
green, and then there was Pikachu yellow, so it was remade like in the early 2000s. But as far as new remakes, I mean, yeah, no, they remade Diamond and Pearl, they
Yeah.
remade Sapphire and Ruby, so they remade like all the Pokemon games I played.
Oh, I love Alpha Ruby and Yeah, Mega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. I love the remakes for Gen 3.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed it quite a lot. Gen 4 remake, I enjoyed it. I appreciated the chibi style. But I'm
Yeah.
personally waiting for Gen 5 and Gen 6 to be remade because I just really love those stories, personally. But
Was that
yeah,
black and white?
yeah, black and white, X and Y, like that kind of era.
Yeah. I
And
always think about that low HP music in black
oh,
and white.
oh man. And I was just gonna ask, what is your favorite region?
Uh, that's hard. My favorite region is probably Johto, but my
Yeah,
favorite Pokemon comes from Hoenn because my favorite Pokemon is Gardevoir. Awesome, awesome. I mean, very dangerous Pokemon. It can make black holes anywhere, but like cool
wait,
Pokemon to like
it can do that?
have.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's like like it has telepathy with its owner. That's how it connects to them. But they
Man.
also have the ability to literally make black holes at will. So
Oh
scary
yeah.
Pokemon.
What
Scary Pokemon.
about legendaries? You got any favorite legendaries?
Mm, probably that's kind of hard actually. I'd always like when I was younger, I really loved Entei. Entei was really dope.
Oh yeah.
But up until now, I actually don't know. There's so many different legends and mythics and stuff. Giratina is cool. He has the two
Yeah.
different forms. I like Giratina. So probably maybe one of those two.
Oh
Either
yeah.
Entei or Giratina.
I'm quite basic myself. I just really love Mew and Mewtwo, personally.
I mean, hey, Mewtwo is the OG Pokemon that almost took out Ash before he got a
Yeah.
chance to be done with Pokemon. So
True.
yeah.
True. Yes, so you mentioned Gardevoir and stuff, and I do know that Gardevoir has Mega Evolution and stuff, so I just want to
Yeah.
know like what's your stance on like Mega Evolution and like Gigantamax and stuff like that, because I personally I really enjoyed Mega Evolution. Gigantamax, I didn't like it at first, but then they kind of came around to it later on. But yeah, I want to know
Mhm.
what you think.
I mean, same pretty much same line of thinking. I think that the evolution thing it gave people's kind of I guess kind of creative dreams as far as Pokemon to grow a little bit because it's like it was always kind of well we feel like Charizard should be a dragon type. Okay, well with Mega Evolution he was in one of his forms at least. Um when it came to Gigantamax, it was cool because of like visually, but like as far as in the gameplay or like competitive scene, it's like I don't know. It's kind of in the middle. I like Mega Evolution more.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it. I love how they gave it to like Pokemon that kind of needed one, but I don't know, it like Mega Kangaskhan, it's just the Joey in the pouch just sniffing out, and that's the evolution.
Yeah.
I love that. Do you have a favorite Mega evolution? Because my favorite is Mega Alakazam with just the 5 spoons. I just really enjoy it.
Oh, yo, he was very underrated too when he was
Yeah.
around. Like he was a super dope mega. My favorite is probably okay, this is actually because I loved it in competitive scene. Is actually Mega Aggron. Like
Ooh,
nobody ever used him ever. I was the one person who was like, yo, he has potential. But I actually just liked his design too. It's really cool.
hell yeah! I forgot there was a Mega Aggron. I need to
Yeah, see,
scroll those
like
lines again.
Mega Aggron. I think there's a Mega Steelix too.
Yeah, there's Mega Steelix. I do remember that.
Mhm.
I was gonna say, you mentioned in the competitive scene. So, are you a competitive Pokemon player that like just like competitive, like straight up competitive, or you're like, do you class yourself as like an EV or an IV trainer kind of thing?
Well, I've been out of Pokemon like since Sword and Shield because it went a little bit left as far as like just the way Game Freak was handling
Yeah.
Pokemon. But like prior to that, I was very much like I actually did go to some regional competitions and stuff. So I was doing all the breeding and the EVs and the IVs and pouring a lot of time into that when I had it. But I never got to any big comps or anything. But I did have fun with it though. It was always cool.
Oh yeah. So you have not played Scarlet and Violet yet, have you?
No, I need to get a new Switch. My Switch broke, sad face.
Oh no! How did it break?
Yeah. I have no idea. It just like one day I hadn't used it for a couple of months and I just took it out the case and I was like, All right, it's not turning on. Let's plug it in. All right, it's still not turning on. That's cool.
Oh, what?
So I have no idea. No idea.
Well, I've played Pokemon Violet, and I enjoyed it more than Sword and Shield. It's really enjoyable. It's like a new direction which I really enjoy, where you can it's just free range, so you can like
Mm.
do whatever you want at any time. You don't have to like start at the first gym and just do little side quests. You can start with the side quests and do the gyms after. But in doing so, it can be a bit risky because I ended up doing like the second to last gym first. Um, and
Yeah, okay.
and
I
I
can see how
still
that could be a problem.
don't know how I made it, but like I was able to get as far as I did. But like when you like have like Pokemon which are like super high leveled, and
Mm.
you don't have like a certain amount of gym badges, they won't obey you. So my
Oh
Pokemon just
yeah.
didn't obey me for like a solid month before I was able to get into the
Sheesh.
gyms. And yeah,
Oh man.
but I would totally recommend Scarlet and Violet. It's really fun.
I plan to play that and I plan to try I heard Legends Arceus was good too. So I have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
give
great.
that a go.
Hell yeah. Um, you also mentioned before that you did VTubing for a little bit. So,
Yes.
um, I personally I have no idea how the VTuber scene works, or how one gets into it. So, if I would very much be interested in like what your journey was, and process and like your time as a VTuber. I would like genuinely like to know.
So when I was working, I was in college for actually no, I was not working and I was in college. And I got out of college because COVID ruined that for everybody. I started working, eventually stopped because I was seasonal and they let me go. Um, and I was like, all right, I, as a creative, I find that I more than others would just get really miserable working regular jobs. If I'm not creatively stimulated, it really just it messes with me in general. And so I was like, all right, I have a lot of audio equipment here. Why don't I try streaming? Why don't I give it a go? But I was like, I don't want to show my face all the time. Like sometimes I might just want to crawl up out of bed and just start streaming or whatever. And so I was like, all right, well, let's see if there's a way that I can do that. And so I delve and I find what VTubing is. And I'm like, this is interesting. I didn't know that this was a thing or as big as it was, especially like more recently. When I was finding out about it, it was like when all of the big orgs and stuff like V Shoujo and Hollow Live and stuff like that were like booming on our side because it was always big in Japan and like East, but here it was kind of booming. And I was like, interesting. So you can get some really cool art done. And again, I found that creative stimulation. Like you could get your own OC, you could give them a backstory if you want. And there's the whole like debuting thing if you want to do that. And I used a little bit of creative writing. I thought up some ideas for my OC. And then I was just working with the money I had left from when I was working before. And I commissioned some art. I found a rigger who put together everything. And I used this not the greatest webcam to try and just put it together. And then I just went for it. And uh, again, kind of similar to how my voice acting stuff was, as a bit of an anomaly, I picked up pace pretty quickly. I don't exactly know why. It might have just been timing. It might have been the luck plays a good part in that too. And I think I just was like, it gave me a good foothold and I was like, I was doing okay. I was averaging like I got not partner,
Affiliate.
thing before that. Affiliate. I got affiliate
Oh,
in a
yeah.
week. And
Whoa.
then I got yeah. And then I had average like 8 to 12 viewers for a while. And then I was getting rated. I like met some VTubers that are now like humongous. They were in like I knew them when they were smaller and stuff. So it was very hectic. Um, a brief little story about that. I actually almost ended up in a VTuber group that was going to probably be really big, but it didn't work out because some of the OG people that were involved in it kind of had some
Some drama.
air, yeah, some stuff that
Okay.
ultimately had it kind of collapse. And I think part of that and some of the like knowings of the stuff that was happening behind the scenes is kind of what pulled me away from VTubing because it became very draining.
Yeah.
Um, and then I was just like, all right, well, what can I do now? Because I feel like VTubing isn't the same. And I kept hearing the echo of people like, you should be a voice actor. You should try voice acting. And so I did. And here I am.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
before voiceover and before VTubing, you said you were an audio engineer as well for like seven years?
7 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So how was how was that honestly? Because it's very interesting how I don't know a lot of people who start up as audio engineers and then do voice acting.
Mm.
It's usually like voice actors want to do some voice acting, but then they gotta learn how to audio engineer. So yeah, like what kind of stuff did you use at the time? What stuff kind of do you use now? Like Adobe, Pro Tools, all that stuff.
So I always worked in FL Studio. That was it's not as commonly used with voice acting stuff, but I mean, all DAWs or digital audio workstations are more or less the same. Honestly, if you're, that's me coming from it from the angle of being an audio engineer. For the average person who it doesn't have that background, one is more like user friendly, one is more whatever, but the functions are more or less the same.
Yeah.
I just so happened to be used to using FL Studio. I used it because I made music. I was
Oh,
rapping and I was producing and I was doing a lot of stuff, working on friends' projects, taking in clients, making beats, doing samples, all kinds of different stuff. And I was working with hand me downs from my dad. My dad had old, like a microphone. Um, it was a Rode NT1A,
oh,
which is very, very
solid.
common in VA stuff. And he had an old interface back when Avid, the people that made Pro Tools, they actually used to make audio interfaces. They don't
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, yeah.
But I used that for a while. And I honestly was rocking with that until just about a couple months ago. I got some stuff for a portable setup in case, I'm not home and I still need to do some auditions. And then I recently did an upgrade where I got an SSL2 and I got it's like a custom built mic, but it's meant to be similar to like the Newman U87.
Oh, that's really good. Oh my God.
I
Custom.
held in there for a while, but I was like, all right, I need to get an upgrade to stay a little competitive. So I
Fair
went
enough.
ahead to go and do that.
Hell yeah. I really like how you've done like multiple things in your life and you're like I don't know, you have like this interesting like drive just to like just put in as much effort as you can into like doing everything because you have plans, you have goals you want to set. I really respect that, man. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. I feel like if I, for at least for me, if I don't do that, it can be very overwhelming, especially in early stages, like when you first start something. It's a lot to try and just go and not have anything to kind of rein you in or hone you in the right direction because it allows for you to make mistakes, which is always fine. But I'm like, if I could damage control as much as I can, I'd rather do that. So as much as I delved and I was like deep into research and stuff to try and help guide me, in hindsight, I still would do some things the same way. Some things I do a little bit differently, but it was important so that I could like plus, from me as a younger dude living with my folks, I wanted to make sure that my parents felt like I wasn't on my ass and I had a plan. So I would like that's part of what the whiteboard was for. It was like it was for me, but if they ever asked like, "Hey, so how are you doing with whatever?" I could show them and they could see like each week, each month what I was doing.
Wow, each week. That's impressive, man. It's inspiring to say the least because my parents are also like that. I don't live with them anymore, but
Mhm.
when I started out or like even kind of now when I visit them every now and then, they always ask, what's this? What's next? What's next? What's next?
Yeah.
Um thankfully I'm able to talk about some things, but I don't have like a whole plan week by week. So I really respect the
Yeah.
dedication into having things on a weekly basis. I really like that. It's inspiring to say the least. And speaking of inspiration, do you have any voice actor inspirations that just like performances that kind of shook you into like to the core, and that kind of like prompted you or inspired you to take up voice acting?
Troy Baker
Yeah.
is that MF. He is that dude. I there are a couple people I really really like, but Troy Baker's probably like my number one. You know him as all kinds of stuff. You know, whether it's Joel Payne from Naruto, all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff. Um, Alongside him, I probably am going to put my man Keith David in there.
Yes.
Done
Love
all kinds of stuff. Um, who would be my third? It's probably Laura Bailey
or Bailey. Love
is
her.
like those are like my top three, like because they've done so much stuff. They've done mocap, they've done voice acting. Some of them, like Keith David, has done some on-camera acting. Now they've all done on-camera acting, like with the Last of Us TV
Yeah,
show and
true.
stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and then there are some like more genre specific stuff. Like there are some people that's more like kind of my favorite anime VAs and some like my favorite Western animation or that kind of thing. But those are like Troy Baker's my number one though. That dude is ridiculous.
Yeah, speaking of the anime VAs, because you've done voiceover for a year and you're with CSD, so like,
Mhm.
how does it like feel, being among, in amongst the ranks of like, the same agency as like Zena Robinson, AJ Beckles, and there's Quinones, like those kind of people that you've like. I'm not sure if you've watched any shows with them in it, but like just being
Yeah,
amongst like that sort of like echelon is like that's insane, dude.
well, I'll put it like this. I haven't gotten the chance to talk to everybody, but I've gotten to mingle with some of them. Anaris is like my big sister. She's been like a real like friend in the VO community for me, which is really nice. Like if I've needed help with some stuff, I've gotten to poke her for it. And she's just like cool to shoot the stuff with. We talk. Um, but and AJ is awesome too. I didn't know he could sing. He can
Oh,
yeah, I probably
awesome.
just made it a little hot for him just now. But it's really crazy. I've always thought of some of those bigger VAs as just still peers. Like they might be doing things that are more public than some stuff that I've done yet. But that's always the thing is
Yeah.
it's a yet. Like at some point, as long as you keep at it and
Mhm.
you know the world is working on your side a little bit, you'll get out there and you'll do your thing too. Me, you, whoever. It just a lot of times they always say you're running a marathon, not a race. And it's just awesome to be around them because I get to be inspired, but I also get to get mentoring. Like I can talk to these people like, hey, you know, here's an audition. What do you think about this? Could you direct me? Could we just hang out? Like it's really cool people. But it was definitely crazy when I first found out I was getting into CESD. I was like, oh wow. It's crazy. Very crazy.
Yeah. Um, what was I gonna say? I just had a question in my mind, but I just totally blanked out.
No,
Wow,
I
that's
understand. It'd be like
crazy.
it's like that sometimes.
No, you think I'd be like getting better at like these interviews, but
I mean, can't always. It's hard to know everything. Trying to think about what it might have been. Did I have to do mentors? Maybe about how I got into CSD. Maybe about my relationship with some of those VAs I mentioned. I don't know. Just throwing stuff at you. I don't know.
I think it was something to do along those lines. I just can't remember for the life of me. I'm so sorry.
No,
Um,
you're good.
but I'll push it forward to another question.
Okay.
It was kind of around that realm, but thanks for reminding me. But are there like any like projects like cartoons, animes, or games that you'd be like keen to, be a part of, like a franchise someday?
Okay. So I'll do this by category.
Yeah.
If it's video games, anything Bethesda because I love Fallout. Right. So like anything in that realm. Um, I before earlier today I was actually playing Valorant. It's one of the few competitive games I play that I'd love to be in if I could. Really cool people's in there that I'd love to be among. And third would probably be either something that requires like me to really delve character wise, kind of mocap like along the lines of a God of War, or something like that,
Yeah.
or just something cool and fun character wise, like a Fire Emblem Engage or a fire like that kind of thing. Anything along one of those three realms. As far as animation, um, I had to contain myself for a second. I found out recently that my favorite movie ever is having an anime adaptation, which is
Oh,
Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim, yes.
I am obsessed. It's in my Twitter bio. That's how much, and my website is themed after Scott Pilgrim.
Hell yeah.
I found out that they were doing an anime for it, and my heart and soul jumped out of my body. I emailed as many people as I possibly could right away, like, "Hey, is this done? Is it casting?" And they were like, "Sam, I'm sorry, they casted for this a year ago." And then I cried in my closet. I
Oh,
came back, but I was a little down and out about it. But I was like, if it does well, and I could be in a season two,
mm,
anybody that knows me, that is a VA, that is friends with me, would tell me like, okay, let some know that sides for this went out. So that's probably my number one as far as animation. Second to that, I wouldn't mind being in something kind of like, I guess, public, like a DreamWorks y kind of movie. That would be really nice. I heard a lot about the Puss in Boots thing.
yeah. Have you
Yeah,
seen
I
it?
heard that movie was really good. Not yet,
Oh,
but
it's
I've heard it's
amazing.
super good, especially good talking about some mental health stuff.
Mm,
Um so I'd love to be in something like that. And then maybe, I don't know, like an arcane y kind of thing would be
yeah.
super cool. Or anything, I don't know, chainsaw man stuff like
Well,
that.
Chainsaw Man would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I hope you get into all those. Like, oh man, it sucks about Scott Pilgrim though, because you definitely have like the capacity to be in that. But hopefully, it's looking pretty good right now. So I'm hoping a sequel season comes out or anything like that. Or if it's like a long going series, I hope you're
Yeah.
able to do something in it. If it's like a if you're even if it's like Walla or something, like hey,
No, really.
you're
I'll
that
take
guy.
anything. I'll
Hell yeah,
take anything. I can just like I could be in a frame. That's fine. I'll take it. Like I just want to be involved in any way I possibly can.
hell yeah, man. Yes. So we're just gonna go on to the final question I have for you. So, final question for this interview is,
All right, final question.
what are some like let's say three. Let's say what are three pieces of advice you'd give to voice actors or aspiring voice actors out there?
Okay. My number one, I think I did an interview with a friend of both of ours. What are their names? Jace and Raven, yeah?
Oh yes, I know both of them. Yes, they're lovely.
Yeah. I did an interview with them a while ago and they asked me this question and I felt it important to say it then, so I'll mention it now too. When you're getting into voice acting, you don't need to worry so much about every single thing that you're going to do. I think it's important to first hone in on to like very first thing before you even look up anything about equipment, like anything like that. Know to what capacity you want to be in voice acting because that makes your journey so much easier mental health wise. And that's going to be an important part of what your journey is going to be. You're going to have parts where you slow down or speed up because of that. And if you know what degree you're involved, certain things might not stress you out so much. If you want voice acting to be your career, you're going to be more involved. Certain things, certain steps along the journey are going to have a bigger effect on you. But if you're just like, oh, I kind of just want to stick my toe in there, I kind of want to try a thing or two, don't stress yourself out about everything along the whole way because you don't need to put that amount of energy into that to because it could even be deterring if you want to start um lightly and then eventually grow into it more. If you don't come in with that right mentality, it can be very, very, very deterring. So that's my first thing. Just whatever, find out to what degree you want to be involved in voice acting. Once you figure that out, give yourself some grace. Like, please, because there are going to be, once you figure that out, there's still going to be moments like you might not book something for months. You might be in the middle of a slow season. There are so many things that are out of your control. And don't be like me and find ways to work on your off days. Don't like if you are too much on the low side and you need to work more, don't take too many off days when you need to be doing a little bit more, giving yourself a little bit more of that push. Of course, if you need the time, you're in a mental health down bout kind of thing, that's perfectly fine. Don't ever try and push through that. It's not worth it. You're going to get burnt out. You're going to deal with stuff that's going to bite you later. So give your figure out what capacity, give yourself some grace. Those are like my like that will literally take you like your first year or two. Honestly, just that alone, because whatever direction you're going in, it doesn't matter. As long as you have those two things, you'll be able to keep your drive. You'll be able to keep your interest, your patience. You'll be able to make your friends. You'll be able to have fun. Like that's such a long part of the journey there. And my third thing would probably be don't be afraid of no. Somebody telling you no is actually better in voice acting because most people don't tell you anything. When you
Yeah.
submit for things, you either find out you got it or you find out nothing. So I find that no to me is more helpful because at the very least, somebody said something to me and I might stick in somebody's mind, right? I might be able to say, they might be emailing me no to tell me that. They might say, we didn't want you for whatever pro tag, blah, blah, blah. But I have some projects coming up. I'll keep you on a short list and I'll try and reach out to you in the future. Somebody might even just say no, but you could reach out to that person later, like, hey, I actually sent out this audition for such and such and I didn't get it. I don't know if you remember me, but since then I have done this. I have gotten a new demo reel. I've gotten in this new project. No's still serve as a start to communication. It's much harder to go from nothing and be like, hey, hi, I'm this person. Would you like to look at my demo reel, or would you like to connect somehow? Even if they've said no, they've still seen you or they've still heard you, hopefully. And that I think can still be a starting point for you to build some blocks off of, because it can be really deterring. Or it's like, how do I get on rosters? How do I get in agencies? I got in an agent. I don't even mind delving into that a little bit. I got into my agency I actually was going to try and aim for a different one at first. But that didn't work out. And I had a referral. So sometimes referrals aren't even enough to get you an agency, or timing could have been whatever. I don't know. I don't think it's my fault. It just was what it was. But to get with CESD, um, I actually took a class where, it's like one of those showcase kind of
Yeah.
class things. And I was already ready. I knew I was, for me, where I was at, where I had all my demos done. I had a sizable enough resume. I knew for me personally, like, I just need to be in front of somebody. So I went, I read, I got lucky. That's where luck played a part, because half the class didn't show up. So everybody got to
Oh,
read twice instead of one time. So I came prepared with two very different sets of copy to show that I had range. So I read both and I reached out to that agent after. Hadn't heard back. I waited about a month. I emailed again and he was like, I actually remember you. I was going to reach out to you, but I just got caught up and I was busy. When do you want to set up the meeting? I set up the meeting with them the following week. And I thought I was going to have to wait to be in the agency, but they told me that they knew before we even had the meeting that they wanted me in CSD. They just wanted to
yes.
talk to me. And so I was like, wow, that's crazy. And it was super awesome, super exciting. But there was nothing for me to be afraid of. Like, it could be the worst that would have happened is I got no response, and the second worst thing would have been him being like, hey, I checked out your stuff, we don't feel like you're a good how they say match right now. And even if that was the case, I would have been like, all right, you know what, come back in 6 months,
Yeah.
right, and I'll try again. So I think those were three things. I went off on a tangent a little bit at the end,
No,
but
no, that was perfect. That was a amazing segue to end this interview on a really nice conclusion. Thank you so much for joining me. I've had a blast getting to know you more and talking to you more. Um, and yeah, is there any? I'll put this in the description later on. But are there any like social media platforms that people can find you?
you can find me. I'm on Instagram, but I don't really be on there that much. If you do want to connect with me a little more personally, I'm on Instagram at simply Ember VA. So simply SIMPLY and then Ember EMBER VA. On Twitter, I'm just at Ember VA. Those are the best two places if you want to talk to me, or you want to chat, or you want to play some games, whatever. Reach out to me on Twitter. I'm pretty good about messaging people when I'm not overwhelmed. Sometimes my Twitter DMs be a little swamped and I haven't checked them for a while, but more often than not, I try and check them out because I'm just not a super huge social media guy. That's why. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram.
Sweet. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you all so much for watching. Follow Psalm and slash Ember on all of its platforms. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.